The twin moons of Velithra hung low over the silver river, cold mist dancing above the water like ghostly breath. The village fires were dying, and silence spread across the cliffs. From the shadows, 4 alien figures walked slowly, carrying something wrapped in pale cloth. Inside that cloth was Serah'li, a young alien woman with bright violet eyes and skin marked with soft golden veins. She was paralyzed from the waist down since birth. Her body did not move, but her mind never stopped dreaming. Her people, the Velithrans, believed strength was purity and weakness was a curse. Tonight, her own family had decided to end the shame she brought to them. Serah'li's mother walked in front, her face hard like stone. Her father followed, his voice cold and full of sorrow. "Forgive us, child," he whispered. "We cannot carry your curse any longer." Sarah wanted to scream, but her mouth only trembled. "Please don't," she whispered, tears rolling down her cheeks. "I can still help. I can still live." No one answered. The wind blew across the cliffs, carrying her words into emptiness. Her brother, the youngest of them, avoided her eyes. He gripped the edge of the cloth too tightly. His claws shaking, he wanted to speak, to say something brave, but fear locked his voice inside. At the edge of the river, the current shimmered like liquid glass. Her father and mother stopped, lowering the bundle. Serah'li's heart pounded as she looked up at the stars. Her voice broke. "Mother, please." "I'm still your daughter." But her mother only turned away, whispering the old words of their people. "Let the river take what should not walk upon land." Then, without warning, they pushed the cloth, and Serah'li slid down the rocks into the freezing water. The river swallowed her cry, pulling her beneath the surface. Her eyes opened wide as icy darkness surrounded her. She tried to move her legs, but they were dead weight. Her mind screamed for air as her fingers clawed at the water, far above the river. Across the night sky, a faint hum echoed. A human patrol ship, the Horizon, was surveying the alien world. Inside, Commander Jace Arden leaned forward in his seat. "Wait," he said to his co-pilot. "Did you see that thermal spike?" The sensors blinked red, showing a small heat signature sinking fast beneath the river. "It's probably debris," his co-pilot replied. But Jace zoomed in, seeing the outline of something alive. "Something struggling," he frowned. "That's not debris." Without hesitation, Jace stood, grabbing his dive gear. The others called after him. "Sir, we can't risk a native zone. It's forbidden." But Jace was already running toward the hatch. His voice echoed. "Then consider this my choice." The cold hit him like knives as he plunged into the river. The world went silent except for the roaring in his ears. Light from his suit illuminated the dark waters. He saw her motionless, drifting deeper, her golden veins glowing faintly like tiny stars. He kicked harder, ignoring the pain in his lungs. When his hand touched her, her eyes flickered open for a moment. She saw a human face behind glass, bright lights around him. Her mind barely understood what she was seeing. She wanted to speak, but only bubbles escaped her mouth. Jace grabbed her tightly, pulling her toward the surface. The current fought back, dragging them down again. His air meter blinked red, low oxygen. Still, he refused to let go. "Come on," he muttered through gritted teeth, kicking harder. The surface felt miles away. Then suddenly, light, he broke through, gasping, holding her above the waves. The ship's crew saw the emergency beacon and launched a retrieval drone. The wind howled as cables dropped from the hovering craft. Jace wrapped his arm around Serah'li's limp body, securing both of them. "I've got her," he shouted. The drone lifted them, water streaming down as they rose into the metallic belly of the ship. The hatch sealed, and medbots rushed forward. "Scanning her body. Unknown physiology," one announced. Severe hypothermia, spinal damage, but life signs stable. Jace knelt beside her, his face pale and soaked. "You're safe now," he said softly, though he knew she couldn't understand his words. Her eyes fluttered, catching the light in that moment. A tear escaped her eye, not from fear, but disbelief. In her fading mind, she remembered her family's last words, the cold touch of the river, and now warm hands saving her. The stars she used to dream about had sent something, someone to prove that mercy still existed. As the medical pod closed around her, Jace stood, staring through the glass at her fragile form. "She's not a mission," he whispered. "She's a life." Outside, the rain began to fall, washing the blood and shame of her people back into the river. But deep inside the ship, for the first time in her life, Serah'li felt warmth instead of pain, and far below, on the cliffs, her brother stood watching the human craft disappear into the clouds. His heart broke with guilt as he whispered, "She lived. The river that once took her away had given her a new fate." A single human dive had just changed the story of two worlds. Soft light filled the medical chamber. The air was warm, humming with machines that breathed for the wounded. Serah'li opened her eyes slowly, her vision blurred, and strange shapes surrounded her. White walls, soft lights, a low voice whispering near her ear. She was not in her village anymore. She was lying on a human ship, her body covered with silver sheets and tubes that glowed faint blue. Her chest rose and fell on its own. She could feel something she had not felt in years, a faint pressure in her legs. It was small, almost nothing, but it was there. When she tried to move, a hand stopped her gently. "Easy," said Commander Jace Arden, his voice calm and kind. He smiled at her through the glass of his helmet. "You're safe here, I promise." She blinked, trying to understand his words, but the language meant nothing to her ears. Still, the tone was soft enough to calm her racing heart. Jace called to the medbot. "Status report," the machine replied. "Patient stable. Paralysis may be reversible with neural realignment." Jace exhaled, feeling relief wash over him. "Good," he muttered. "Then we'll make sure she walks again." Outside the chamber, the crew gathered. They were not happy. The co-pilot, Sergeant Miller, crossed his arms. "Sir, we broke planetary law," he said. "You pulled an alien out of their own death ritual. The Velithrans will see this as interference." Jace stared at him. "Then let them," he said simply. "We don't watch someone die if we can save them." Back inside, Serah'li watched him from the bed. The humans were strange to her. They didn't look cruel or superior like her people had taught her. Their eyes carried warmth, not judgment. She tried to speak, but her voice cracked. "Why?" she whispered. The translator in the medbay picked up her weak tone and tried to form the meaning. Jace turned as the device spoke in rough alien language. "Why? You save me?" He smiled again. "Because no one deserves to be thrown away," he said. His words were slow, gentle, and though she didn't fully understand, his eyes told her everything. Days passed. Serah'li's wounds began to heal. The neural brace attached to her spine glowed brighter each day. Her fingers could move again. Her body started to remember what life felt like. Jace visited her often, bringing her warm food and soft conversation. He showed her the stars outside the window, pointing. "That's Earth," he said proudly. "My home," she repeated the word softly. Earth, it sounded strange, but beautiful. But peace did not last. In the command deck, warning lights flashed red. The communication console buzzed. "Incoming transmission," Miller said. "It's from the Velithran High Council." The hologram that appeared made every human tense. Alien voices hissed through the translator. "You have taken one of ours. Return the cursed one at once, or face the consequences." Jace stood tall. She was dying. We saved her. She is under our protection now, the alien leader snarled. You insult our laws, human. Her curse will infect your kind too. The line cut off. And silence filled the room. Miller turned. We can't afford a conflict, sir. HQ will order us to return her. Jace looked back through the observation glass, watching Serah'li sitting weakly on her bed, trying to move her legs with trembling hands. I'm not giving her back, he said quietly. That night, Serah woke to the sound of boots rushing through the hallway. She could hear raised voices. They found us. Alien patrol approaching. Jace burst into the medbay, grabbing his ear. We have to move, he said. He lifted her gently into a portable medical pod. Her fingers reached out, clutching his arm. What's happening? He met her eyes. Your people want you back, he said. But I won't let them hurt you again. The pod locked around her. Sealing with a hiss, the crew rushed toward the escape hangar. The floor rumbled as explosions echoed outside. Alien drones appeared in the clouds, firing bright streaks of energy. They're tracking us. Miller shouted. Jace took the pilot's seat of the smaller rescue craft. Not for long, he muttered. The engines roared as the ship broke through the upper atmosphere. Serah watched from the window, her planet growing smaller. Her heart twisted in confusion. She missed her home. But her home had tried to kill her. Now the ones who saved her were the ones being hunted. The chase burned across the skies. Human and alien ships weaving between lightning clouds, race for turbulence. Jace called. The pod shook. Serah gripped the sides tightly. She wanted to scream, but couldn't. The storm outside swallowed the world in white light. Then suddenly, silence. The ship broke free from the clouds, leaving the alien patrols behind for now. The human crew sheered weakly. We're clear, Miller said. For now. Jace looked back at Serah through the glass. You're safe again, he said with a tired smile. She whispered something, her translator barely catching the words. Why, you always help? He paused, then said softly, because that's what humans do. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly. Serah watched them with wide eyes, wondering how far these strange creatures would go just to save a life. But far below, on Velithra, her family stood before the council. The news of her survival had spread like wildfire. The elders were furious. Her brother, silent and broken, clenched his fists. His guilt burned deep. He whispered to himself, Sister, maybe you were never the cursed one. Above, on the fleeing human ship, Serah closed her eyes. The pain of the past began to fade, replaced by a new feeling hope. She did not yet know it, but her rescue had just begun a war between compassion and cruelty, between a people who threw her away and a man who refused to. Thunder rolled across the endless clouds of Velithra's upper sky. The small human rescue ship, the Horizon's wing, darted through lightning storms, chased by glowing alien patrol craft. Inside, red lights flashed across the control panels, alarms screaming in every corridor. Commander Jace Arden gripped the controls, sweat dripping down his forehead. They're still behind us, he muttered. His co-pilot, Sergeant Miller, shouted over the noise. Their ships are faster. We can't outrun them forever. Jace glanced at the radar, watching 3 enemy signals closing in fast. Then we don't outrun them, he said. We outthink them. In the back of the ship, Serah'li sat inside the med pod, her face pale but determined. The vibrations shook her fragile body, yet her eyes stayed focused on the window. Bright flashes cut through the dark clouds, beams of plasma slicing across the sky. She whispered softly, They will never stop. Her translator repeated the words in English, and Jace heard them through his headset. They won't stop, he replied. Then we keep moving. The alien patrol sent a warning transmission. Human vessel, surrender the cursed one or face destruction. Jace smirked. You'll have to catch me first. He flipped a sequence of switches, diving the ship straight into the dense storm layer below. Lightning exploded all around them, turning the sky into a sea of fire. Inside the med bay, the walls trembled. Serah closed her eyes tightly. For a moment, she remembered that night at the river, the cold, the darkness, the feeling of falling. Now she was falling again, but this time someone was falling with her. The turbulence grew worse. One of the engines sparked. Alarms blared louder. "We're losing power," Miller shouted. Jace gritted his teeth. "Redirect from shields. Keep thrust steady." Sparks burst from the ceiling as the ship dropped lower. Through the viewport, a faint glow appeared beneath the clouds, the shimmer of Velithra's ocean far below. Jace knew if they crashed there, they'd never survive. He turned to Miller. "We need cover. Scan for any landmass." Miller's hands flew over the controls. "There's an island Shane-old ruins. Abandoned sector. Set course," Jace ordered. The ship broke through the final storm layer, trailing smoke and flames. The alien patrols circled like vultures, sending more energy blasts. Then something unexpected happened. One of the pursuing ships slowed down. Its pilot hesitated, watching the human vessel wobble in the storm. Inside that alien ship sat Kelran, Serah's brother. His hands trembled over the weapon controls. His commander's voice barked, "Fire, Kelran! End the interference." But Kelran's eyes softened when he saw the faint image of his sister through the targeting lens. She was alive, sitting upright, her golden veins glowing stronger than before. He couldn't breathe. His heart whispered, "She survived." He lowered his weapon slightly. The commander shouted again, "Fire, soldier!" Kelran froze, unable to move. In that 1 second of hesitation, Jace made his move. "Now!" He yelled. Launching a flare bomb backward, the light exploded like a sunburst, blinding the alien sensors. Engines full thrust. Miller shouted. The ship darted through the glare, disappearing into the clouds below. When the flare faded, the alien patrol had lost them. The commander slammed his fists on the console. "You coward!" He growled at Kelran. "Because of your weakness, they escape." Kelran stayed silent, but deep inside, guilt and hope battled in his chest. Meanwhile, the Horizon's wing landed roughly on the abandoned island. Smoke pouring from its damaged thrusters, Jace jumped up from his seat. "Miller, get damage control running. I'll check the passenger." He ran to the med bay, opening the pod. Serah'li looked up weakly. "Are we safe?" she asked. Jace smiled tiredly. For now, he helped her sit upright. Her legs trembled under the neural brace, but this time she could move them slightly. Jace's eyes widened. "You're healing," she nodded softly. "Your machines fix me." He chuckled. "No, you're fixing yourself. You just needed a chance." Outside, the storm quieted. The sound of waves crashed against the rocks. The air smelled of salt and burnt metal. Serah looked out at the horizon, her heart heavy with confusion. "Why my people hate weakness," she whispered. Jace leaned against the wall beside her. "Sometimes people fear what they don't understand," he said. "They think strength means power, but real strength is mercy." She turned her head, watching him silently. Something inside her chest warmed, a strange feeling she didn't know how to name. But the peace didn't last long. Miller's voice echoed from the cockpit. "Jace, we've got a problem." Jace hurried in. "What now?" Miller pointed to the screen. "Distress beacon from our ship. It triggered automatically when we crashed. The Velithrans will find us again soon." Jace cursed under his breath. "We'll have to move before dawn." As night fell, Serah sat by the window, staring at the distant stars. She whispered softly, "I wish they could see what I see now." The translator repeated it in English, and Jace heard it again from the intercom. He didn't answer, but his eyes softened as he looked out into the sane sky somewhere far above. Alien ships regrouped, led again by Kelran. his commander demanded, "Will you fire next time? Or shall I end your shame myself?" Kelran looked toward the stormy sea and said nothing. In his heart, he already knew what he would do. He would not let his sister die again, even if it meant betraying his people. As lightning flickered in the clouds once more, the horizon's wing powered up silently. Ready to fly again, Jace whispered to himself, "The hunt isn't over yet." And deep within her fragile chest, Serah felt a spark, something human, something alive. A hope that maybe one day she would stand on her own feet and face the ones who threw her away. The chase across the skies was far from finished, but for the first time, Serah wasn't just someone to be saved. She was becoming someone ready to fight. The storm returned before dawn. The sea around the island rose like a living beast, tossing waves as tall as towers. The small human ship, the horizon's wing, shook violently, lightning splitting the sky open. Commander Jace Arden tightened his harness, shouting over the alarms, "We're losing altitude." The engine screamed, and the ship tilted downward. Serah'li was thrown against the wall, the neural brace on her back sparking with light. "Jace!" she cried. Her voice trembled. Jace tried to steady the controls. "Hold on!" he yelled. The ocean came closer, roaring louder and louder. A blinding flash filled the sky, an impact. The ship hit the surface hard, breaking through layers of water until everything went black. When Serah opened her eyes again, the cabin lights flickered weakly. Cold water rushed in through the cracks, rising fast. The world around her was half underwater, half on fire. She coughed, gasping for air. "Jace!" she called again. She looked around desperately until she found him. Jace was unconscious near the control deck, blood on his forehead. The ship groaned, metal twisting under the pressure. The sea wanted to claim them both. Serah tried to move. Her arms were weak, her legs barely obeyed her, but she refused to stop. The human had dived into death to save her once. Now it was her turn. "No, not this time," she whispered. She crawled toward him. Water rising to her chest, sparks fell from the ceiling, and every breath hurt like fire. Her trembling fingers reached his collar and pulled. Her legs dragged uselessly behind her at first, but then something changed. The neural brace pulsed with light. She felt pain shoot through her spine, then warmth. Her toes moved, just slightly. She gasped, disbelief and hope mixing in her chest. "Move," she told herself. "Please move." The ship tilted again, throwing debris everywhere. She wrapped her arms under Jace's shoulders and kicked weakly. Slowly, painfully, her body obeyed. Her legs began to move inch by inch, as if the river of fate had finally turned. The escape hatch was jammed. Water nearly reached her chin. She slammed her hand on the panel again and again. "Open!" she shouted. The system beeped once, then hissed. The door burst open. A wall of cold ocean rushing in. She and Jace were thrown into the deep. Her lungs burned, but she didn't let go. Her hands held him tightly as she kicked toward the glowing light above. Her muscles screamed, but her mind stayed clear. "He saved me," she thought. "Now I save him." When they broke through the surface, rain hit their faces. The world was nothing but waves and lightning. She kept him afloat, whispering, "Stay alive." Even though he couldn't hear her, a loud hum came from above. She turned her head and saw shadows through the rain alien patrol ships. Their spotlights cut through the storm. The Velithrans had found them. One ship descended lower, water spraying around it. Dozens of armored aliens surrounded her on the floating wreck. Their leader stepped forward, voice sharp through the speaker. Serah'li of the cursed bloodline, release the human. She held Jace tighter. Glaring through the rain, "No," she said. Her voice was weak, but full of fire. The aliens aimed their weapons. "You stand with an enemy," the leader hissed. A familiar voice cut through the storm. "Wait!" It was Kelran, her brother, stepping out from the ranks. His eyes widened when he saw her alive, standing in the water, her legs trembling but holding her weight. "Serah," he whispered, unable to believe what he saw. She stared back, tears mixing with the rain. "Brother, you threw me away," she said softly. "But look, I still live." The soldiers hesitated. Murmuring among themselves, Kelren's commander barked. "She's not your sister anymore. She's a stain." But Kelron stepped forward, lowering his weapon. "Then maybe our honor is the stain," he said. The commander growled, raising his arm to strike. But Serah moved first, pulling a flare gun from Jace's belt. She fired it straight into the air. The light blinded the soldiers for a moment. Behind them, a human rescue drone, drawn by the distress signal, broke through the clouds. Its engines roared as it hovered above the sea. Sending down cables, Jace began to wake weakly. His voice low, "Serah, go." But she shook her head. "No more leaving behind," she said. Kelren stepped closer. "Take him," he whispered. "I'll cover you." She looked at him, confusion in her eyes. "Why?" He gave a sad smile. "Because I was a coward once." The aliens shouted. But Kelren turned and fired at his own commander. Energy blasts lit the sky. The drone's cables dropped. Serah tied Jace to one and grabbed another herself. Her body was shaking, her strength nearly gone. But she held on. The drone lifted, carrying them through the storm as the sea churned below. Kelron stood in the chaos, watching his sister rise toward the clouds. Her golden veins glowed brighter than the lightning. When the drone vanished into the mist, he whispered, "Live, Serah." For both of us. The rain finally slowed, the waves calming after the storm. The Velithran commander fell silent, his ships damaged and leaderless. The ocean had taken its price, high above, inside the drone. Serah collapsed beside Jace, breathing hard. She looked down at her trembling legs and whispered, "I walked." Then she looked at him, his eyes half open, and smiled softly. "You said humans never give up." Jace reached for her hand weakly. "Looks like." "It's true," he said with a faint grin. The drone ascended higher, away from war, away from pain, carrying them toward a dawn neither of them had seen yet. The same water that once tried to drown her had now carried her into the sky. And beneath those endless waves, a brother's choice had begun to change the fate of a world. Dawn broke over the ocean. The storm had passed, leaving behind quiet waves glowing under the first light of morning. Inside the rescue drone, Serah'li sat beside Jace Arden, watching the sunrise through the cracked window. Her body ached, but she was alive, more alive than she had ever been. Jace opened his eyes weakly, his voice rough. "You saved me," she smiled softly. "You saved me first." Their hands rested close, connected not by blood or species, but by something deeper, trust. The drone's navigation system beeped. "Approaching human base." Miller's voice came through the calm. "Command wants us back immediately. They say the Velithrans are demanding talks." Jace sighed. "Of course they are." He looked at Serah. "You ready to face them?" She nodded slowly, her golden veins glowing faintly. "Yes," she said. No more running. When they arrived, the human base was surrounded by tension. Soldiers lined the hangar, and diplomats argued in hushed voices. Above them, alien warships hovered at the edge of the sky, ready for battle. The air smelled of fear and pride mixed together. Inside the council chamber, humans and Velithrans faced one another across the floor. The alien elders stood tall, their armor polished and cold. At their center was Kelren, silent, his eyes heavy with guilt. When Serah entered the room, whispers spread like fire. She walked slowly but proudly, supported by her brace, yet moving on her own legs. The humans watched in awe. The Velithrans stared in disbelief. The elders hissed. Impossible. She was cursed. Serah raised her head. No, she said clearly. I was never cursed. I was only unwanted. Her words echoed across the hall. For the first time, her voice carried power, not weakness. You threw me into the river, she continued. You tried to wash away your shame. But this human, she turned to Jace, showed me what mercy is. What strength truly means. The eldest alien slammed his staff on the ground. You speak against your own kind. He shouted, This is blasphemy. Serah stepped forward. Then let it be, she said. If truth is blasphemy, let the sky hear it too. The human commander turned to Jace, whispering, This could start a war. Jace answered quietly, Or end one. Calren finally moved, stepping between his sister and the elders. Enough, he said. I saw her walk. I saw her live. She is no curse. She is proof we were wrong. The elders glared at him. You would betray your bloodline? Kalrai's voice broke slightly. Maybe it's time our blood changed. A heavy silence filled the hall. The youngest Velithran soldiers looked at one another uncertainly. Their eyes were not filled with hate anymore. They saw Serah standing tall and alive. And something inside them shifted. Jace took a slow step forward. We humans have our own scars, he said. We've made mistakes too. But we learned that compassion builds more than fear ever will. The elders turned toward him. You meddle in things you do not understand. One spat. Jace met their gaze calmly. Maybe. But I understand this. No one deserves to be thrown away because they're different. Serah placed her hand on his arm gently. He's right, she said. I was weak once. Now I'm strong. But not because of hate. Because someone believed I deserved to live. Calren knelt, lowering his weapon before everyone. If you call that weakness, he said, then I choose weakness. The hall trembled with murmurs. One by one, more Velithran soldiers lowered their weapons. The elders saw the shift and knew their rule built on fear was cracking. After long silence, the eldest spoke, voice bitter. Then go. Both of you, you are no longer of us. Serah lifted her chin. I was never yours to begin with. The council ended, and the warships above began to retreat slowly. Humans and Velithrans watched in silence as the sky cleared. Later that evening, Serah and Jace stood outside the base, the sunset painting the world gold and red. She looked up at him, smiling faintly. What happens now? Jace shrugged lightly. We rebuild, maybe together. She nodded. My people will not forget this. He chuckled softly. Neither will mine. She turned her gaze to the ocean. Waves sparkling like stars. I used to hate the water, she said quietly. Now it feels like freedom. Jace looked at her. You gave that water meaning again, for a long moment. They stood side by side, the wind brushing through their hair. Their worlds had been enemies, yet here they were two lives changed by a single act of courage. Serah's golden veins glowed brighter under the fading sun. You humans, she said softly. You are dangerous, Jace laughed. Why? She smiled. Because you make even broken things want to live again. As night fell, the stars appeared above them. Millions of tiny lights stretching forever, Serah whispered. Maybe mercy is the strongest force in the galaxy. Jace looked up too. Maybe it's the only one that lasts. The ocean's waves whispered below. The same river that once tried to drown her, now carrying her voice into eternity. And from that day on, legends spread across both worlds about a paralyzed alien who learned to walk again, and the human who dove into death to save her. It was said their story changed hearts more than any battle ever could. A single act of kindness had become a bridge between two species, and a light for every soul who had ever been thrown away. And so, the river that once divided worlds became the place where hope was born again.